Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
I'm Tom.
We're Team Binge, and we're here binging
The
the
after
After
party.
Party.
Yeah.
So after a long debate, Tom and I decided, actually it wasn't that long, we decided to watch the TV show The After Party, which for those of you that don't know, much like Ted Lasso, it is on Apple Plus.
Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus watch phone.
I don't know. Apple Plus is probably something else. It's probably some like insurance plan.
Oh, that sounds like I should get it because I have an Apple phone. Anyways, we're watching The After Party. For those of you that have not heard of it, it's a TV show with Tiffany Haddish, Sam Richardson, Dave Franco, and Ben Schwartz. It is a whodunit.
It's a whodunit murder mystery.
It's a play on true crime podcasts, all that stuff. It's also quite funny. It was created by Christopher Miller, who then directs most of the episodes, if I recall.
Yes.
And his partner,
Phil Lord.
produced. And those guys did what, Tom?
I think
What are the people going to know them from, Tom?
people might know them from the Lego Movie franchise. They did those initially.
Okay.
They also did Last Man on Earth, starring Will Forte.
Sure.
Which was a fantastic series. If you haven't seen that, I'd recommend it as well. What else do you might know him from?
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite and the best Spider-Man movie.
It's fantastic.
As well as 21 Jump Street, which we watched recently. It still holds up. It's pretty funny. It also has some people from this show in it, like Dave Franco.
Nice.
But what we're going to do is we're going to go through each episode and at the same time try and solve the mystery.
We're going to solve this thing.
I hope so.
Are we going to like end each pod with a guess?
Yeah, I would.
And then,
yeah,
okay.
most certainly. We're also going to call each other detective.
Okay.
So for now on, when we start this, I'm going to say, "Hi, I'm detective."
You're not Detective Julian, you're just detective?
Just detective.
You're Detective 1, I'm Detective 2?
No.
Can I be
numbers.
Gumshoe?
No, we're just going to both be detective.
Is Gumshoe a detective? Is that like an old-timey
I think it's
word?
a nickname for a detective.
Oh, I'm going to be Gumshoe.
All right.
Can I be Gumshoe?
No, let's cancel all that. All right, so real quick, watch the show before you listen to us because there's going to be spoilers. It's only going to make sense if you're following along with us. But let's go through the suspects, Tom.
Let's start it, yep.
And I guess really real quick, the premise is this. These people are all going to a high school reunion. I'm assuming it's like a 20-year, 15-year reunion.
I think it said 2006 reunion. So
that's 30-year reunion? I don't know. Math's not my thing. And one of their classmates, the famous classmate, dies. And so they're all suspects. And our
the after
suspects
party.
at the after party.
Yep.
Oh, that's why they...
Yeah.
So our suspects, and I don't know if there's main characters. I've only seen one episode, but Anik, I feel, is the main character of the show. Is he not? Or are they all just... Is this a...
So I'll admit I've seen 3, and that's
Okay.
when I decided this is up our alley. We should record this. But each episode is a perspective. They're kind of telling their mind movies, which we'll kind of
each
get
suspect.
into from each suspect. Yeah.
So there is no main character.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sam Richardson is definitely involved throughout, or Anik, his character, is
Okay.
involved throughout, which I think all the characters are. Like you see, even in the next couple episodes, they always are going to intersperse the other characters, even if it's just like a quick, like, hey, what's going on in this scene? Like they'll pop in just so that way when you see the next episode, you see like, oh, that's why they were in this scene, kind of a thing.
Okay. So, first episode, these are how I understand the suspects. Anik, who's played by Sam Richardson. People will know Sam Richardson from lots of different things.
Veep,
but
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso is the most important thing he's ever done. Jasper, played by Ben Schwartz. We love Ben Schwartz. We'll get into his pedigree from Parks and Rec as Jean Ralphio.
He's pretty much playing Jean Ralphio.
Oh, yeah, he is. Like a toned-down version.
Yeah.
Walt, who's played by Jamie Demetrios.
Nice. Demetrio.
Demetrio.
Yes. I think he's from like Fleabag fame is where I know him from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chelsea, who's played by Ilana Glazer, who is one of the 2 women that does Broad City.
Fantastic.
Indigo, who is Genevieve Angelson. Mm-hmm. I did not know her from anything.
Nope.
She's in other things, just nothing. I did not recognize her. Zoe, played by Zoe Chow. Did not know her from anything. And then Brent is
Brett.
Ike. Brett.
Yep.
Brett. Ike Barinholtz
Okay.
is who plays him. And I recognize the guy, but he's in like 1,000 things.
Yeah,
so that's
he's
where you kind of recognize him from.
He's a that guy.
Yeah, certainly a that guy. And then our detectives. So I'm detective, you're Gumshoe. Our fellow detectives are Detective Danner, who's played by Tiffany Haddish.
Yes.
I guess you could argue Tiffany Haddish is the main character of the show.
Yeah, because she's doing the interviews for the whole deal, yeah.
Her partner is Detective Culp, who's played by John Early. Obviously, we know who Tiffany Haddish was. I did not know John Early.
Again, he's one of those, like, I feel like I have seen him from something, but we didn't do, like, deep dives into all these characters. We're kind of just playing by the seat of our pop culture pants. So.
And then the most important personality of any crime, Tom.
The victim.
The victim. The victim is played by?
By one Dave Franco.
Dave Franco, who is the younger brother of the other Franco. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I think it's like Steve.
Steve Franco. I think that's their dad. His character's name is Xavier. He plays kind of like a Justin Bieber type guy.
Yeah.
And so those are our suspects. The detectives are our allies. And the victim, unfortunately, is no longer on this mortal plane.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 1. Do these episodes have titles, or is it just episode 1? I don't think it had a title, right?
I don't think there are titles.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to give it a title, you can kind of probably give it a title of, like, what
Anique,
backstories.
right?
Yeah,
It's
like what
Anique's.
backstories. Yeah, yeah.
So
but in this one, they kind of did two. They did Indigo super quick.
Sure.
And then they did Anique's.
Sure. And Tom, having watched 3 of them, kind of give us an explanation of, so each episode focuses on a character, and then they're each giving their mind movie.
Yes. So Tiffany Haddish here in a little bit as Detective Danner, she kind of says, like, hey, I want to find out what's going on in this murder. I want to get each of yours mind movie. And that kind of sets up the idea of Lord and Miller, the directors and writers here, setting up the idea of, like, different playing on genres.
Okay.
So in this one, we see, like, Indigo, which does, like, the kind of black and white artsy,
art house movie.
And then it gets to Anique's, which is the main bulk of the episode, which is a romantic comedy. And then as we kind of meet some of the other characters, you kind of get
Other genres.
And I won't kind of spoil those quite yet, but, like, they were just so the next 2 were just so fantastic. I'm like, we got to record this.
I'm glad you, without permission, advanced and watched the next 2 episodes. Thank you for abandoning me. This one starts with, obviously, them going to their high school reunion. It's 2006. We start with Sam Richardson, who plays Anique. He is there solely to reconnect with a high school crush named Zoe, played by Zoe Chow. A song is playing that I'm assuming is setting the tone for, like, the timeline. It's Angel by, like, Shaggy.
Shorty, You're My
something.
Angel. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Which I'm assuming is an '06 song. So he's got his reunion soundtrack going.
Yeah.
And he's being essentially Sam Richardson, like, just like a nice, like, normal guy.
Yeah.
Super friendly,
Very
a little bit
personable,
nervous.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
And he's, like, in his car. He's kind of getting ready. He's, like, trying to rekindle this flame. He's like, nothing could go wrong tonight.
Right. Which is great for... because then it cuts to Dave Franco falling to his death.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like the immediate cut, and then, whoop, all right, that's that.
People scream, and we are off. And that finds us at the beach house, Xavier's beach house. So, cliffside, we meet Tiffany Haddish, Detective Danner, Detective Culp, John Early. The captain's on the phone. And it's very funny. The captain's telling her, like, you shouldn't be here. It's not your case. All these things. She takes charge. Did you recognize the voice of the captain on the phone?
It was very familiar, but I did not catch it for my first listen.
So you mentioned that these guys also did Last Man on Earth. And the voice you'd recognize is the actor Mel Rodriguez, who I don't remember his character name, but he's one of the core 4 in the beginning of Last Man on Earth.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He plays, like, Will Forte's, like, best friend.
Yeah, it's Will Forte, January Jones, Kristen Shaw, and then Mel Rodriguez. And so that's where I recognize the voice from. I like when, like, clearly these guys that wrote this have actors they like. They have actors they like working with, and they bring them in for these projects. And it's always fun because you can tell, like, on set they were probably having a pretty good time.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
They're looking at the body on the beach. It's obviously a dead Dave Franco, Xavier. They find, like, a hat underneath him. They conclude it's a murder. There's some other clues in there.
Yeah, so she gets all up in him, sniffs him. She smells some whiskey and ginger ale. They see a blonde wig. And there's some kind of contusion on his nose. So we got a handful of early clues here.
Sure. And there's shrimp all over the place. But cooked shrimp, not shrimp from the ocean.
Yeah.
Which he makes sure to point out because...
He's like being a detective, but being just like very very simplistic in his detective skilling.
Right. Then we cut to inside Xavier's house. Clearly, it's like the end of a high school party where all the parents are not around. Anik has marker all over his face. Did you see what was written on there? Or,
he had nerd.
He's got like triangle, like cat ears, almost his eyes.
He had a cat ears. He's got a little mustache. He's got whiskers. And I think there's some other writing on him, which we'll might see in future episodes.
In classic, like, Clue or any type of... Like, there's a genre of these detective movies that are so great. We get all the suspects in one room.
Yep.
The detective makes his entrance, like, a Knives Out, introduces himself, and, like, takes charge. And she's, like, observing all of the mayhem. And Tiffany Haddish is hilarious. Like, there's several times she's, like, making comments about stuff that's happening in the room and what she sees. She makes some comment about messy white folks. And then she's, like, hi to Anik. Like, I don't know.
It's like, oh, they love to ski. They don't even need snow.
Yeah. Oh, because the skis are in the middle of the floor. And then this cuts to... the TV, she's like telling people no social media, and you can see that Jasper, Ben Schwartz, is like on his phone and he like stops. So he's
he was
clearly
probably tweeting.
Yeah, probably the leak. We then see in true great movie form, the news on the TV plays telling us that Xavier has died. He died at the age of 33. This whole sequence, I've watched it 3 times now. It's just great. It's anytime a celebrity dies, but they do it so over the top in this show. Very much in the vein of like 21 Jump Street. Like just the humor and the stuff that happens.
It's so well written too, just because like you get so much backstory and like allow this news channel to do this exposition for us to like tell us about who he is, what he's all about, and all of it's just gold.
Eugene Xavier Duckworth Jr., a coffee shop heir of the coffee shop Jeans Beans. Which sounds like a lovely place.
Not Phil's Pills, Jeans Beans.
Not Phil's Pills, Jeans Beans. Phil would have loved Jeans Beans, I can tell you. Xavier went platinum with, I'll allow you to give the name of the song.
X marks the G spot.
Which is just an incredible name for a song. And then, I don't know if you paid attention to this, Tom. And I had to pause it several times, but you're reading the ticker at the bottom of the news feed.
Yeah.
And the stuff it says... it said Xavier's latest world tour was called "I'ma Live Forever," which is great.
I didn't get that
because he did not. And then they show like the album, like they show that his album is at the top. The album is called "Somebody Zave Me" with an X, and it's right above Taylor Swift's 1989, which I thought was hilarious. First record to go #1 in Antarctica.
Oh wow!
Which is something to be said. And then it shows like, hey, he was a musical artist, but then he got into acting, and he was in like the Hungry Hippos movie, which I feel like they're making fun of like The Rock a little bit, like The Rock.
It's like Jumanji, Tropic Thunder-ish, for sure.
Yeah. And then I did not catch this, but my spouse did, and I thought it was quite funny. He was the first artist to perform for 69,420 fans.
Okay.
So 69 and 420 together. That was on the ticker, which I just thought was a great... That 421st person tried to come in and they were like, no.
We need this record.
And then just the creme de la creme of this whole biopic part is we find out he starred in the biopic of Hall & Oates. And who's his co-star, Tom?
Mr. Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum of 21 Jump Street. So once again, someone who like you don't think is like a comedy actor, but he's done enough funny stuff that he's just too handsome to be funny.
Yeah.
And he's too good at dancing to be funny, but he is very funny.
Yeah, he comedy gold. At 22 Jump Street, absolutely fantastic.
So it's Channing Tatum and Dave Franco playing their characters in this show as Hall & Oates. And just like they show a clip from the movie and it's Channing Tatum's character getting really upset and he throws a record against a wall and he's like, "This place, it's an eater of men." And then Xavier's character turns and he's like he has an epiphany. He's like, "Grab your axe. It's chart breaking time."
He's like, you go high, and I'll go high, or I'll go the same height.
I'll go the same high. I was like, that eater of men is so specific. That's gotta mean something. Did you know that Hall & Oates' like #1 chart was man-eater?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I did.
Watch
I had
out,
no
boy!
idea.
Watch out, boy! He'll chew you up.
Oh, man.
Here she comes. She's a man-eater.
I turned it on. I don't know that, to be perfectly honest, I don't know that I had heard the song before.
Really?
Yeah. My spouse started singing along with it. I was like, "You know this song?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I know this song." I did not know it.
Oh man!
Apparently, my house
classic.
was not a big Hall & Oates house.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. Then this cuts to, we meet Brett, played by Ike Barinholtz.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that he's hiding something in his car, and we find this because he's talking to Chelsea, Ilana Glazer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ike Barinholtz, we talked about him earlier, but where did you know him from, or did you recognize him from stuff?
He was definitely that guy, but there was no specific thing I pinpointed him to.
So I knew him from The League, that FX show about the fantasy football league.
Okay.
But then more recently, you would probably know him from, he is in, not Justice Squad, what's the one with?
He was in Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. He's the
That's where I know him from.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's where you're going to know him from. You're
Okay.
welcome, Tom. I
Thank
know how
you.
your brain works. I would like to note that I called it Justice Squad. At me, people.
Hey, that's in the same universe at least.
Okay.
It's all
that's
DC.
fair. He's also in Eastbound and Down, the Mindy Project, and then Ilana Glazer, Broad City. That's where I know her from. I have not watched a lot of that show. I remember watching some of it and thinking it was funny, but it's just not something that I got into.
Yeah, it was the same thing. It wasn't on my radar. I've seen a handful of episodes, and they've been all fantastic, but never kind of stuck with it. But she's a lot of fun on the show.
Detective Danner says, any one of you could have been the murderer.
And I do like, he's like, get your cornstarch. The plot thickens.
The plot thickens. All of us culinary artists know that to thicken things, you use cornstarch. And then she goes into, like, why you're all here for the reunion, second chances, life, love, emotions are high.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately the blame is thrown at Anik by various people who,
one of the
again,
Jennifers
is covered in permanent marker. And we find out that no one actually witnessed the murder.
Mm-hmm.
Blame's thrown at Anik. Detective Danner's like, you must be Anik. And in the background, Jasper goes, oh, she's good.
She's good.
Which is funny. She tells him we're all stars of our own movie and she wants to hear your mind movie. Mm-hmm. And I think this is where we go into Indigo's mind movie, which is very black and white and artsy. And it takes you a minute to realize what the show's doing. But this is where it's set up. Each character is going to get their own chance to tell their perspective, and it's going to be in a different movie genre. I did appreciate Indigo, who's kind of dressed like, I don't know.
Jackson Pollock or something?
I don't know about that. I would just say like artsy, like refined, like very sophisticated, I guess.
Who's the guy that did all the soups, like Campbell's Soup? Is that Jackson Pollock?
No. The
Warhol.
guy
That's what I'm thinking. Andy Warhol.
Yeah. I didn't see her holding any cans of soup, but when asked to recall her memory, she says, avec plaisir, which I was like, all right, thanks, subtitles. Got to look that phrase up now. And it's Latin for with pleasure.
Makes sense.
You could just say with pleasure, but whatever. That tells you who Indigo is.
Correct.
And then we get her memory. Anik is being pranked by, I guess, Ned, who is Jennifer's husband. Mm-hmm. We see Xavier peeing off the balcony, and then I think he accidentally pees on Jennifer or one of them.
Well, liquid falls on Jennifer. Whether it's pee, they're assuming it's pee. Whether it actually is pee, we don't actually. Okay. We can't confirm quite yet.
Got it. It looks like pee. And
smelled like pee.
The reason you know that Indigo is artistic is because she uses the phrase, I try not to look at screens. There's like a point where she's supposed to look at like a TV, or something. She's like, oh, I try to avoid screens. Like those people that are like, oh, we don't have a TV in our house. I know no one has that issue listening to this podcast because you would not be listening to a podcast about a TV show if you did not have a TV in your house. Boom.
Well, you also need to like start the podcast by looking at a screen.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Anik thinks that Xavier pranked him, and he goes after Xavier. He like storms upstairs.
And I love the way this is like shot because it's like art house, and he's like, "You gotta find your center." It's like the center won't hold. This ends now. And it kind of like wipes his face.
That's right.
It's just so over the top dramatic. It's
the
great.
center won't hold is an incredible phrase. That's like when the battleship is falling apart and like you've got to ram the bad guy and everyone's going down. That's when you shout, "The center won't hold." That's an incredible line. Then they see the body. Indigo sees Anik looking at his hands in distress in Xavier's room. And I do feel like this show, two things. It is you are rewarded if you listen to it with subtitles, or watch it with subtitles, I should say. Can't listen to subtitles. And maybe watching it twice, because there's stuff I picked up on the second watch that I did not catch on the first watch. Like this moment right here plays back when Anik tells his version, and you kind of find out, like, oh, why is he standing there, that sort of thing.
And this happens throughout. So, like, I've seen, again, the first 3 episodes, but there's even a handful of sequences in this where you see it from other characters' perspectives that are just comedy gold, that were not funny while you're watching this episode.
Okay.
But if you see like, and I'll probably, after watching the entire season, go back and rewatch it, because you get all these extra little nuggets of comedy that are just absolutely hilarious. And I'll try to at least pinpoint the first couple that I've seen.
Got it.
Not during this episode, but once we get to it later.
So after Indigo's weird art house movie, which Detective Danner points out is like weird, she's like, all right, I'm going to talk to you, Anik, because you were seen in the room at the scene of the crime.
Now, can I say real quick, so now that we've gotten her mind movie, are you ruling her out as a suspect or not yet? Because like hers was
Indigo?
kind of a... Yeah.
No, I'm not ruling Indigo out. Absolutely not.
It was a short mind movie.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Listen, if you don't have screens, or you don't look at screens or do anything like that, the only way you can entertain yourself is by murdering people. That's it.
Okay.
Come out. I mean, if someone has anything else other than like watching your phone or watching a television, if there is any other activity in life to do other than murder, I don't know what it is.
If you don't play Wordle, you're a psycho killer.
Oh, Wordle. Okay. That's true. That's with a screen. Yeah, you're making my point for me. All right. We find out that they go and sit in like a recording studio.
Yeah.
Which I say that as a surprise, but I'm realizing Xavier is a recording artist, so he would have a studio in his giant beach house.
Correct.
I'm an idiot. We find out that Anik has essentially like a photographic memory, right? Because, and it's very subtle here, but he's like, he names all the people in the room, and he goes from like clockwise, whatever, and he like rattles them all
clockwise
off.
from your perspective.
Right.
Yeah. Very impressive.
Right. So this helped like learn the cast of everyone, because it is moving pretty quickly. He kind of breaks it down.
Yeah, and then I do like appreciate like Tiffany Haddish, like with her as a detective, kind of like still kind of making it kind of funny and like comedies. Like, listen, my goal here is to find out who killed Xavier, but it'd be nice to have some fun in the process. And she like puts little like animals on the little desk and stuff, and just it's so great.
So then we jump into Anik's mind movie, which, as you pointed out earlier, is a romantic comedy. And once again, a second watch, I picked this up. First watch, it was just kind of like, okay, it's his version. Well, especially his version is romantic, like focused.
Yeah, especially with like the name they pop up, because it pops up Anik. It says his name on the screen, and it's got a little heart on the eye of Anik. So it's kind of like, and they did that with Indigo. When Indigo did her Little Mind movie, it popped up her name on the screen and kind of did it in this like film noir kind of deal. So I think they do that as they kind of introduce the character's mind movie. Okay,
so Anik is explaining why he went to the reunion. He came to the reunion for Zoe. They had chemistry together, and they had chemistry together. It's so good. Zoe recently got divorced. We find out that she got divorced from Brett, and she wanted Anik. She sent Anik an email making sure he was coming to the reunion. As Anik is getting out of his car, we're introduced really not for the first time. We see him at the house, but like we get a sense of who Jasper is.
We get the romantic comedy version of Jasper.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jasper in the parking lot, Ben Schwartz. Talk to me about Ben Schwartz, Tom. One of the greatest TV characters ever on Parks and Rec.
Yeah, Jean-Ralphio, if you haven't seen Parks and Rec, just over the top, like spoiled brat kid to who's the Fonzie, the actor?
Fonzie. What?
Yeah. In Arrested Development, in Parks and Rec, their father was Fonzie, and he's the one that gave him all the money. He's like, money, please.
Henry Winkler.
Yeah, Henry Winkler. So, but just a fantastic character, and like he is, I think you mentioned he's kind of like playing a similar beat to that the Jean-Ralphio, but maybe a little bit tamed down, at least in this.
Yeah, this
version,
like Jean-Ralphio, I felt was really like self-centered, selfish, and just like annoying and like dumb. This guy's maybe like there's certain aspects of him that might be a little bit selfish and like self-important, I should say. But he's pretty nice to Anique. Like you could tell they were friends.
Yeah, he's a nice guy for sure.
But definitely like that same kind of energy. Jean-Ralphio, the amount of memes that guy created, and the "you're the worst" and all that stuff, just great. Him, anytime he got to do a scene with Ron Swanson, was just incredible.
They're back and forth, yes. I think he's got one bit where he talks about like you got to wear a tie because it points an arrow right down to your dong.
Yeah, that's quite a line. Because he offers his to Anique.
Yes,
he's like, "Oh, you want my tie?" Which is once again friendly gesture. I'm trying to give you my tie to make you look good. But Anique's like, "But what's going to point to yours?" And he's like, "Oh yes, good point. You saved me." And he's like, "Oh, I've been working out a lot. Have you heard of Pilates?" I've heard of it too. I haven't done it, but I've heard of it. Just a great like back and forth. And Jasper is there like encouraging Anique to go after Zoe. He knows how hard he crushed on her in the past.
Yeah, he's like the friend in the romantic comedy, like the wacky wild friend who's like pushing Anique to go for it, take his shot with his high school flame.
Exactly. They cross paths with Chelsea. She drops her bag, and there's like a flask that clanks on the ground. It sounded empty to me, but later on we find out there's stuff in it. So
correct.
I know the sound. I know the depressing sound of an empty flask when it hits the ground.
You know the sound between a full and an
I know
empty.
the sound of a full flask. That's joy and happiness. Empty flask is just sad. We find out that it was subtle here. I don't think I caught it on the first watch, but she was the former class president, and they kind of make a comment how she went from like class president to now she is a bit of a train wreck.
Yeah,
and you get that because she dropped a flask out of her bag.
Train wreck,
which no one has ever been bothered when I've dropped a flask out of my coat pocket or my sock. We have the classic meet cute with balloons.
The balloons.
They're
are so
looking
great.
at the pictures. His picture's great. He's like, I think I'm holding an Oreo in my fist.
Mystery.
But they do. Zoe and him have a meet cute. They're like flirting through balloons popping. The music's playing. And once again, this is like a classic movie thing. Like these two people are here to like meet each other and talk. They have this moment with the balloons, and she's immediately like, "Oh, all right, well, I'll see you inside."
Yep.
It'd be like, no, you would stop right there. You would have a conversation.
Yep.
You'd be like, "Hey, how you been? You get my email? I'm glad you came. Like, what are you up to? Sorry about the divorce. Hey, sorry about the Oreos." Like, you go through all that. Nope.
It's like they're trying to fit a whole romantic comedy movie
Right.
like in this sequence here. So
great.
like they can't immediately get on. Like they have to kind of give it a little bit of time. And I do appreciate like the idea that like they have a little meet cute, they both separate ways, and then Anique and Jasper get together, and like Jasper's like, "Oh, how did it go, man? That seemed like sparks. You guys were flying. I can't believe you didn't pop all these balloons." Like you needed that moment of them getting back together.
Yeah. And as they're walking towards the auditorium, Jasper and Anique are acquainted with Slamps.
Wait, Slamps.
Slamps is a great name.
We're gonna call him Slamps. Can we call him Slamps?
Real name Walt. I did not recognize this guy, this actor.
He's been in something else I've seen recently, but I recognized him from Fleabag, which Fleabag was a lot of fun on Amazon Prime. I think it was only like 2 seasons, but Phoebe Waller-Bridge, fantastic comedy. Definitely a little bit different and unique, but I would highly recommend it. But he's entirely different in that show. Like he's wearing like these big false teeth, and he's made to be like a really ugly, like kind of like a really nice guy, but like just really like homely. I think they kind of call him in the show. But he's a very fantastic actor, and I do like he's kind of still has that super creepy vibe throughout this.
Well, what's interesting, and he's probably the one I have the least like amount of read on, and I'm sure it's purposeful. But he's like, hey, he recognizes both of them, and they do that thing where they're like, oh, hey, man, how are you?
Yeah.
And he goes right at him. He's like, what's my name?
Ooh, coming in hot.
Coming in hot. Which is so good. This is a classic situation where everyone acknowledges we don't know each other's name, and you're just like, hey, man, how are you? Yeah, good. What?
They haven't gone into the auditorium to meet the Jennifers to get their name tags yet.
Oh, that's true.
So they don't have that helper.
That's true. They don't have that. He explains to him that, well, obviously that his name is Walt, but that he also had chemistry with him. So we're seeing a connection of this chemistry class of these people. And what's this guy's deal, Tom? What's Walt's deal? What's happening here? What am I supposed to read? Don't tell me. Forget the 2 episodes you cheated and watched.
He's not in the next 2 episodes. I will spoiler. He's not. It's not his perspective. So I haven't seen his perspective yet. He's still a bit of an enigma, even after.
I did appreciate that Jasper went right at him with, what's your deal, man? Did you actually go to school? Because that was kind of like my thought was, oh, this guy didn't go to school with him.
Yeah.
But then Jasper immediately addresses that, and I was like, okay, so I guess he did go to school with him, or at least he knows enough to pretend to go to school with him. I figured my theory is that he is like a Xavier super fan.
Okay.
And he's really just there as like a stalker for
Try to
Xavier.
get close. Okay.
Yes. That's my...
I think he mentioned at one point, like, something like, I don't know if it's going to pay, but like, it'll never happen again or something. I think that was like his line. Very ominous. The music gets all dark.
He goes, no one remembers me, but they will tonight.
They will.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Which cleared him of a suspect for me. Because they never release it. We find out that Jasper was in a band with Xavier. Do you know what the band's name is?
Scarpe Diem.
Scarpe Diem. Are we to assume that's a ska band then? If it's Scarpe Diem?
It's a ska band. They actually...
Oi.
If you blink and you miss it, they make an appearance in this episode.
Oh, really?
They make an appearance in this episode.
Oh, I blinked, apparently.
I'll let you know when it happens.
Anik is explaining to Jasper that rich, good-looking guys always swoop in and steal Zoe from him.
And what happens? Xavier literally flies in on the helicopter, like on the football field.
Which, if you think about it, this is what Anik did on Ted Lasso. He landed a helicopter right on the pitch.
That's great.
So there's a lot of mirroring.
I do love when Xavier gets out. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm just here to reunion like all you normal people."
You normal people. This is Dave Franco, very much alive, very much shirtless, like Jamie Tart.
Wow.
Wearing only a coat. There's so many Lasso.
More so than any movie we did in the stoppage time.
That's true. They enter the auditorium, as most auditoriums do. There is a table there for name tags. We meet the Jennifers. So many Jennifers back in 2006. Do you remember how many Jennifers were in your grade school class in high school? So many Jennifers.
I do remember quite a few.
They were all lovely people. Nothing against Jennifers. There were just so many.
75% were all right.
Okay, all right. Well, when there's 100 of them, that's a pretty good ratio.
But they're both the pregnant ladies. I recognized one of them. She was from the internship. I think is it Tyra Sakar? Sarkar?
Sure.
There we go.
I recognized her. I didn't know what she was from.
Yeah, she was an internship. That one with the Google movie or whatever. Just a big Google advertisement.
Right,
with Owen
the
Wilson
one with the
and
Wedding
Vince
Crasher guys together.
Yep.
Never saw it. Was it good?
Yeah, it was fine. It's just a Google commercial.
All right, we'll do that one next. Anik, we find out, designs escape rooms.
So awesome.
Can't describe them. Can't escape the question of what's an escape room.
Well, I think he's just taken it back. He's like, you guys don't haven't heard of the phenomenon that is escape room?
He makes this comment where he's like, it's a room that you're trying to get out of, and Jasper in the background goes, well, that could be said of any room. You're trying to get out of it. Like, at some point, you're trying to exit. It was a great moment. He tells him, I made Santa claustrophobia. And one of the Jennifers is like, I love Santa, but I'm Jewish. And Anik's like, you just wrote Santa Claus on my name tag. Can I take that? It was just a great moment. And then I think this is where we cut. And it's Detective Danner explaining.
And she's like, oh, man, I love me some escape rooms. Can't get out of them, though. I need those clues.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I got stuck
every
in
one of
that
those clues.
And he's like, you as a detective couldn't just follow the clues? And she's like, no, I'm more of an interpersonal type of detective. And you can see that Anika's not buying it.
Now, Detective Julian, if there's one thing I know about you is you love a good escape room.
I appreciate a good puzzle, Tom, and escape rooms are puzzles. and yes. It depends on the crowd you go with.
Oh, okay.
I would never do escape room alone because I would die in that escape room.
Yeah.
I also think there are certain types of people that love escape rooms and will shove you out of the way to solve that puzzle.
We did an escape room once, did we not?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. I don't think I was that guy.
You were not.
Okay. There was another person that was
No. We
leader.
went with a group. We had a lovely time. And I think the other thing is some people are quicker than others.
That's probably
so if
bigger.
you're the slower person, it's a little bit less fun because they're solving everything. And you're just like, where's the bathroom?
You can't get there.
You can't
You
get
find
there.
a corner, man.
Find a corner. Actually, we did one as a date night, my spouse and I. We had a lot of fun. I think we did not solve it.
Just the two of you?
Yeah. It's a brave thing to do when you're married.
I was going to say.
Bold. Is bold the right word?
Bold is the right word in this instance.
They walk in and Zoe is killing it at karaoke. Did you
Crushing
recognize the song, Tom?
Oh, yeah. It's classic Cher. If I could turn back time.
I don't think I knew this song
No,
either.
what the heck?
This is like a genre of music that just doesn't... Well, also it's an '06 reunion. So would Cher be an '06
Not
reunion
necessarily,
song?
but it's like I love the Beatles. Like, if I was gonna do karaoke, I'd probably do like a Beatles song. But like, I just love how the lyrics are just so on point, and like Anik is taking it as like she's singing to me. She's
very
wanting
much
to
a
turn
romantic,
back time.
yeah, very much a romantic comedy. Like the music is on the nose.
And Jasper even comes in and says, oh, "Dude, she's singing directly to you."
To you as the friend. And then in response, Anik goes up and accidentally sings. Now this song I absolutely recognized and loved. I actually did not. What was this song?
I don't know the name of the song, but it's very inappropriate lyrically. We'll try to keep this family friendly for this podcast, as we generally do. But I do love how he tries to clean up the lyrics, where it's filthy behind him, but he's like speaking right into the microphone and trying to like dull it down.
He takes a very like feminist approach to like. It's great.
It's like Miriam Barry did some crack, or I like my pancakes in a stack. Just fantastic.
And this is like a perfect Sam Richardson moment.
Yeah.
Like he plays that so well. Like, oh, this is awkward, but I'm going to try and clean it up a bit.
Uh-huh.
And he did a great job. Which makes me think, like, this is obviously not as profanity laced as Lasso.
Mm-hmm.
Did you? Would you put this as like a PG-13 show? I'm trying to remember. I didn't feel like it was.
I think there are maybe like an F-bomb or two kind of a thing, but I think it doesn't rely on it. And I don't think Lord Miller, the kind of main showrunners, whatever, rely on that. Like they've done Into the Spider-Verse, the Lego movie, like they know how to do comedy without having to like do filthy or use language to get there.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
We need a wholesome murder mystery.
We need wholesome murders. You heard it here first. Kids, watch this show. Xavier, he shows up with a drink for Zoe. I have dress, but it's actually a drink. That would be weird if you showed up with a dress for...
Well, no,
but that happens in romantic comedies, too.
You kind of had it right. He shows up with a drink that matches her dress.
Oh. All right. Well,
okay. You're wrong. You're wrong, but you're not totally wrong.
not totally wrong. He charms her. Dave Franco plays this character incredibly.
Yeah.
Like... I hope that we see a lot of flashbacks. Don't tell me. I hope throughout the show, like, that he's not just in this episode and then dead. I hope there's a lot of flashbacks with him because he's incredible in this. We talked about it before we started, but very similar character is his character in 21 Jump Street. Like, the popular kid that's, like, smarmy and, like, fake, like humility or, like, humble and, like... I don't know. The character in 21 Jump Street is like a super like for the economy, but like just to say he is.
For the economy or for the environment?
I'm sorry, for the environment.
No, I mean, he's a drug dealer, so he's not necessarily for the economy.
Right. No, definitely like an environmental guy, but only an environmental guy because it's like California and it's popular, not because he actually believes. Anyways, he's also great in... oh no, I'm going to mess this up bad.
He was in Superbad. He was in Superbad.
People don't forget.
Would you wet your pants in 5th grade?
That's what I was trying to remember. Thank you, Tom, for
You're welcome.
saving me. He won several things.
He won a Grammy. a People's Choice Award, and an MTV Best Comedy Sex Scene.
Oh,
Didn't realize that was a category.
So good.
But like, I like they do a back and forth about how like awesome that sex comedy scene was, and like, oh man, when they got in that one position, like, all right, it was pretty funny.
Right. Anik is complaining once again that a rich guy stole Zoe from him.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the MTV Best Comedy Scene. It's a reminder of in Tropic Thunder
100%.
when
Yep.
Tobey
Maguire.
MTV Best Kiss Award winner, Tobey Maguire. Oh, it's so good.
And then in comes Brett. I think they kind of introduce him, but like, I think they were just talking about who Zoe's previous husband
Who she was married to, which is Brett,
was Brett, who's like, what if a human butt could wear a jacket? And then boom, what does Brett do? Sits down right behind him, and they're like, oh hey Brett, how's it going, man?
We find out once again, Brett is Zoe's ex. He hates Xavier. He's like, who wears a suit without a shirt? In some places, did you know if you don't have hair, they'll kill you?
Wait, where's that?
Where? And he's like, clearly like made it up.
He's like, Hungary.
You ever been to Hungary? Yeah, I've been to, they're both like, yeah, we've both been to Hungary.
What village?
He's like, what city? It's so good. So good. Brett is, then threatens Xavier, and I think this is where we cut to Detective Danner being like, okay, so Brett threatened...
Yeah, well, I think it's like
Xavier.
It's Anik kind of like trying to like push Brett
blame
as a potential suspect, and like he has that knife, and he's like threatening to kill him. He's like, well, maybe you like don't gesture with the knife so much,
right?
And then he like slams the knife down as he leaves, and then it like cuts to Anik trying to pull the knife out with like two hands, and he can't do it. It's just so great. Like literally, he flicks
like,
the knife.
Two hands can't do it. That's embarrassing.
And he like later references him as they're still at the table, and he kind of flicks the knife as I mentioned to Brett.
Yeah,
so good,
yeah.
Love it.
I'm pretty sure that was a butter knife. Doing better butter knife in a table like that's pretty good. We find out that Jasper, because he's going over to distract Xavier so that Anik can get Zoe back.
Well, and I think Jasper has his agenda as well.
Ulterior motive.
Ulterior motives?
Ulterior motive.
Okay.
We're going to stick with that one because his love is music, and he wants Xavier to bless his song, which Anik is like, what is he, a priest?
Do you know what bless the song is?
No. What
is
it?
Blessing a song is like kind of like being a sample in your song, or like coming into like say like, oh, this is this guy or whatever, like to kind of start your song, or like come in and like sing a little bit of your song.
Like what DJ Khaled does.
Yes.
We the best music.
He blesses your song.
Another one.
Like a famous person comes in and does like a less famous person's song, and then kind of like allows that person to kind of get big.
It's like another one. Old MacDonald had a farm. Was when Khalid did Old MacDonald.
Correct, yeah. Really blew up McDonald's career.
Blew up. That's how he made all the money to buy those restaurants.
That's how he left the farm.
Jasper installed AV equipment at Xavier's house. We find out that Zoe is the vice principal of the school as they're doing their Anik and Zoe get to meet each other. The great part about Jasper installing the AV equipment at Xavier's house is, do they hit it at this point where he's like, hey, it's pretty killer, right? And Xavier's like,
the remotes.
And Jasper immediately knows what he's talking about.
He's
like, yeah, they don't really work.
That was like Jasper's cue to be able to get like Xavier out of that sequence
right.
or whatever. So then Anik could come in and talk to Zoe.
Yep. And so as Anik and Zoe are talking about themselves, a video starts to play in the background, and it's mostly Zoe and her ex on their like wedding day and their daughter. So did Brett put the slideshow together? Is that to be like, is that how you understood it? You'd think the AV equipment guy Jasper would put it together.
Because I've seen the next episodes, I will not comment on how the sequence unfolded.
All right. Well, I would assume Brett put it together in order to make his ex-wife feel guilty.
You would assume correctly.
Yeah. Okay. They escape to the kitchen, Zoe and Anik, and they're eating cookies. Xavier and there's this weird conversation where it cuts to Xavier and Jasper. Like Xavier's like, all right, yeah, I'll go with you. Like they agree to go do something, and you can tell Xavier's not all that into it.
Well, I think Xavier just in general is kind of like
put
annoyed
off by
Jasper's kind of
by his
pushiness.
former Scape Diem bandmate, ex-bandmate.
You figured that. I mean, we don't know how that. Bands generally don't end very well if you're not still a band. So maybe they had like a falling out or something.
I'm assuming they're on hiatus.
Yeah,
they're waiting for that next.
They're gonna come back
and do that.
But you figure they would have had a little bit more like fun rapport as like friends. Like if you were in a band in high school with somebody, you'd be able to like have a conversation. But Xavier was having none of it.
Something tells me Scape Diem did not last very long. Maybe got one talent show in. We have the cute moment at the mural in the hallway that Zoe painted. So we find out she's an artist, which is commented at some point earlier in the episode,
which was good because it kind of told us that like Tiffany Haddish is a good detective.
Right.
Like Culp kind of makes the silly little shrimp reference, but she's like, oh yeah, like hey, we're detectives. We're trying to solve something. Like look at the ink on her hands.
Right.
Very like kind of Sherlock Holmesian.
Sherlock Holmesian. Chelsea shows up drunk. She's trying to tell Zoe something, but they kind of give her the slip, and they do the whole like romantic comedy montage.
Yep.
They're rubbing food on each other's faces, which always just seems like a pain to me. Like, I don't want food on my face. Like, I gotta then wash it off. It's, I don't know.
It's
not
powdered
cute,
sugar.
not fun.
Yeah.
It's powdered sugar. It's delicious.
So.
They then go to the teacher's lounge for drugs, which is just awesome.
Well, no, that's like he wanted to go
Don't do
there.
drugs, kids.
He was like, "There's always been one place I wanted to go," because he realized she had the key. So it's like, go to the teacher's lounge, and it's just kind of whatever. And then they open up like the cabinet to get to the drugs, and there is apparently Mr. Shapiro and Quiet Heather making out in the closet room, which is kind of funny.
So Mr. Shapiro was the chemistry teacher, right?
Yes, I think so.
Quiet Heather, I don't know that reference. I don't think we meet her yet.
Yeah, I don't think we know anything at this point
All
yet.
right, Tom, you have to say spoilers before you reveal a character that we don't know of.
I mean, he said the name.
Or that they're Heather.
Well, it's not a Jennifer.
All right. I thought actually it was Jennifer, so thank you. There's some dope 80s music as they paint in a room, an art room.
Yeah, they're just doing, I
room.
wouldn't say paint. They were
They drew each
It's like sketch work, but it was paint.
Sure. Yeah, whatever, Tom.
But they do characters of each other. She does the one of him, which is like a solid character.
Right.
And he does the one that's like all of us.
I guess that's the show that she is an artist and he is not an artist. Then they're drinking in the stadium. We find out that her marriage dissolved because Brett is a cheater, which I will say is a good reason for a marriage to end.
Okay.
Per the good book.
Okay. Noted.
Actually, I don't know if that's true, but I'm just going to put it in my good book. So Brett and her broke up because of that. She asks him, she's like, hey, reunion question. Are you happy? Like, did your life turn out the way that you wanted it to? So this is the point where I'm going to ask Tom. Tom, is your life everything you hoped it turned out to be?
My life is everything I hoped it would be and more. I have your friendship. I have a beautiful wife. I have a pretty good child.
Your son's awesome.
I know, my son's pretty awesome. No, like it's like whenever you do these reunion things, we didn't do reunions like our high school. I would imagine our 20-year.
Every time we get together, Tom, it's a reunion.
It's our reunion. Yeah, we generally hang out with a lot of kids, our friends we had from high school days, but
we didn't make any more friends.
Yeah, we stopped right there. We peaked in high school. But it is like a retrospective thing to like think about, like what if like things were different or you did something else. But like, no, I'm very happy with where life ended up. How about yourself?
Yeah. So we find out that people are more complicated than you think. That's what Zoe explains to us. Anik admits to having a slight crush.
A little bit of a crush
on Zoe. And this is when it starts to rain. But not really rain. Like it rains and then they go to kiss and Zoe's kid ruins it.
Yes. Enter Maggie.
Mags.
I think they refer to as Maggie.
Yeah,
Maggie is a
but
kid's
the rain,
name.
like, the rain was happening and then it stopped, right?
It's like romantic comedy.
Okay.
And I think he even mentions later, like the rain hits him only or whatever when he gets like stood up in the helicopter.
Sure.
So I don't know if it really rained in this sequence here.
I don't
but
think
it's
it did because they're completely dry.
Yeah.
And as you do, Zoe immediately leaves her child with Anik. She's like, hey, can you watch her? I got to go yell at Brett.
Yep. Say some adult words to Brett.
The kid hands Anik her...
We meet Kevin
bear?
Kevin Koala.
Okay.
Kevin
It's a koala.
Yep, and he's kind of doing a little bit with her or whatever, and that's where she kind of like runs off. Or I think before she does, she's like, what was her line? It's like, did you give the bone to my dad? Or
No, she asked,
wait, sorry, wrong.
Did you put bones in my mommy? And she goes, my dad said, if anyone tries to... I don't know how to
You're
put
good.
this.
You're good. Moving on.
To put
my
bones in
mommy. It's like, so did you do the bones?
Oh, man. He could have just said no. But instead he's like, I'm going to have the koala explain
and
this.
he kind of starts explaining it, and then she turns his back. She runs away. And I do appreciate he was like kind of still in character. He's like, crikey.
So he runs after her. They end up in the auditorium. She immediately starts chugging, I would assume, a glass of wine.
So he picks it up, and then he, like, as they come with Xavier and Zoe that were there having the conversation, or not Xavier, but Brett, he takes it from Maggie and then just starts downing it, saying, oh, yeah, it's just juice or whatever, and downs it.
And he makes a face like he's never tasted something like that before.
I think if you look again, I think there's like a cigarette in there. Like, I feel like he actually takes something into his mouth, and then at the end of this sequence, he spits it back out into the drink. So I think there's something solid that he took in, which is likely why his face was like that.
Okay, well, here's what I will point out, is he clearly starts tripping in not too long, and this is the second thing that he drinks that is kind of out of nowhere. And so I'm trying to pay attention to what he drinks and what that affects him. This was one thing. I'll hit the other one when we get to it.
Well, and they've done it before. I think he did like another drink or whatever beforehand. He did the little half of a gummy. So it's all kind of like it's his perspective. So he's saying the gummy is not a big deal, but maybe he took a gummy that was like super high, whatever. So throughout the entire sequence here, he's taking random drugs, and you don't know maybe what is that catalyst.
That's fair. This is then where they are deciding to... He walks out with Zoe, because Brett takes the child. They start to walk out, and Zoe's decided to go to Xavier's after party. Xavier rolls up on him, and he invites Zoe to take a ride in his copter, or chopter. He says it some way that's not helicopter.
I think it's copter, and then like Anik tries to say like, well, it's actually heli and copter, which are two different words. He like goes on this like kind of nerdy deal because he just doesn't know what to say.
There's no room on the copter for Anik, Tom. There's no room, and it starts to rain. The rain's not real.
And then,
this is where Detective Danner's like, it rained again? I really appreciate Xavier being like, listen, I just want Zoe to have a good time, and I'm getting some weird nervous energy from you. And, you want her to have a good time, right? And you stay here. I'm going to go get in the helicopter with her. And Anik's like, hey, well, can you give me the address? Because he's like, oh, still come to the party. I can't hear you. It's just so good. He does an incredible job. So this is where I decided that I am going to start telling people about the energy they're giving off and how it affects me and how I don't want it around me. Yeah, I'm just going to be... Like, the way he says it is so, like, condescending, but it's so great because he, like... I don't know. You can tell he doesn't care one way or the other.
Yeah. I had a condescending argument with somebody I worked with today, and I kind of wanted, like, looking back at it, I should have said, man, you're giving me some kind of energy right now.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Oh, so then as they kind of leave the helicopter, it goes by, it's Anik kind of walking to the parking lot. He's kind of looking at the picture that Zoe drew for him of him, and he's kind of just like thinking, he's like, as I look at the picture, and then it hit me. Boom, he gets hit by the car. And who is it? It's Jasper hitting him with his car. And I love Jasper's reaction as he gets out of the car. He's like, don't be dead. Don't be dead. Don't be dead. I was almost like thinking he might say, not again.
Right. He's like, I'm concussed, but I think Jasper wants him to go to the hospital. He's like, no, I need to go to the after party. I need to go to Xavier's house. This is Chelsea's in the car with Jasper. She's in the front passenger seat, and this is where she yells at Brett to tell him that Anik made out with his ex.
Yeah.
And this is when Brett starts chasing them. So now we're in a car chase.
Yes.
We find out that Jasper's super nice car is not his car. It's a rental.
It's odd. It's an interesting color choice, this green.
It's like that lime race car, like street race green. Something you'd see in any one of the Fast and Furious movies, but not a real-life car movie. This is where Anik takes the flask and he drinks out of it. It's got a big red X on it. Yes. And I was like, okay. and he clearly does not like what's in that, and she like takes it from him. She's like, hey, that's my stuff.
Yeah, like, this is my stuff, don't do this. Like, she kind of like had a look on her face, kind of like, hey, I was maybe saving this for something.
Right. That's what I caught as well.
Yes.
Don't reveal anything, Tom. I'm a
don't know
detective
anything.
without you.
I don't know anything at this point.
I'm a detective without you. Brett pulls up and threatens to kill them as they drive to the after party.
He's like, yeah, I'm going to kill all you. I'm going to kill all you. He keeps repeating it.
Okay. Is there a clue there that I'm supposed to pick up? That's a really weird thing to point out.
Nope, that's just what he keeps saying. He's like, I'm going to kill all you. I'm going to kill all you.
Okay. All right. You're giving us too much at this point.
I am simply saying what he said to them.
You're trying to foreshadow, and I don't like it. We're at Xavier's house. Anik has clearly been drugged, although he's taken like Jello shots and all these things, so maybe it's just a mix.
There's like a sequence because he takes like one more shot when he's there, and then like it just hits him. Like it kind of goes into this little like hazy camera, starts freaking out and everything. But I do love it. He's like, I got the dizzies, and he's like falling over. He's like, that one was on purpose. But he does it again. It's like, oh, that one wasn't.
Brett shows up, pushes him over the shrimp.
Yep.
So we find out where the shrimp comes from. He then runs up because he sees Xavier talking with Zoe on the upper balcony.
Yeah, kind of peers
outside Xavier's bedroom. And this is right then when Anik passes out.
Yes. So he's kind of going over. He's like, oh, boom, I'm going to flaming Jello shot to muster up the courage. And then, boom, he passes out. And then that's kind of the end of that little sequence until we get when he wakes up.
He wakes up on the floor. Ned, who's married to Jennifer, has pranked him. He put like skis on top of him with a bunch of beer cups. So when he wakes up, it all falls over. So he's covered in beer.
And I don't think...
Why am I all wet?
Do we know who wrote on his face?
No.
I don't think we do, right?
No, but I do think it's like Jasper walks in, Zoe walks in. Like, they clearly had to see him on the floor. Like, it took some time to put skis and beer and mark his face up.
Yeah, he'd been there for a while.
Jasper couldn't help him at any point. Like, Jasper just let him lay there.
I mean, it's kind of funny, right?
No. Not if you're a friend. You don't leave your friend like that. I don't know. That was the one where I was like, okay, how close is Jasper to him? Like, how much does Jasper care? Or what was Jasper doing?
Ooh,
and also, what was Zoe doing? And so then he storms off.
Yeah, so he kind of wakes up and he's like, who did this? And he immediately thinks it's Xavier. Xavier did this. So then he goes over to see Zoe and he's like, Zoe, I gotta go see about this a-hole. Well, not my a-hole, just specifically. not somebody else's a-hole. Just, I gotta go talk to Xavier.
Right. So then he goes up, he sees himself in the mirror, sees all the marker on his face, and once again, Sam Richardson. No! Like, the way he says no, he's shouting. And then we see this is Indigo watching him shout as he's looking at himself in the mirror.
Yes.
So we see her perspective earlier in the show. We now realize why he's shouting right then. She made it seem like he was, like, looking at his hands like he just murdered someone.
Yeah.
He is clearly upset because he looks like a fool because someone drew all over his face.
And this is where I think this show is a lot of fun because it does the character perspectives and, like, you don't know. Everybody's telling their version of the truth. And, like, where my mind went after, like, seeing this first episode was, I know this has been done a lot, I think, actually recently in a lot of pop culture, but it's kind of this, like, telling the story from different people's perspectives, like, what's the
Last Duel?
Yes, The Last Duel. Thank you very much, which we just watched recently. A little bit heavier than this movie.
Super heavy, Tom.
But it was interesting the way they filmed that one with,
a lot less laughs.
One character says like one thing, and then in the next sequence, the other character says the exact same thing because each of them are remembering it as like they said this line. So I think this is really cool, and I think that's why it's a lot of fun to watch a murder mystery filmed like this.
Right. And then they essentially come to, and Detective Danner is like, hey, I got to say, this is real suspicious. A lot of things happened here that don't look good for you.
Yeah.
And by the way, love makes you do dumb things. So you admitted to...
But he mentions, like, why would I say I'm going up to see Xavier if I was going to go kill him? Like, that would be stupid.
He's like, would I fake pass out and let him draw all over my face just to do this? And I would argue... That's a pretty good alibi.
Maybe.
Pretty good alibi.
Pretty good.
So then Anik leaves her. He goes into the bathroom. Jasper follows him. he realizes, he's like, she thinks I'm a suspect. I'm going to have to solve this myself.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a escape room puzzle maker. I can solve this. And then, great line from Jasper.
I love this.
If you solve this case, the room you escape is prison. Which is a great line. And then he reaches into the trash can and he finds a note that says something like, this is payback for what you did to me. But it's a very specific rip out. Like,
Yes.
it's like, almost like, okay, clearly taken out of context.
There's a little bit more on the rip, kind of on the bottom, but you don't really have kind of the rest of it.
Okay.
So it's potentially trying to piece together what is this rip. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
The tip. Okay. They then leave the bathroom, and we find out that Brett was trying to escape.
Yeah, trying to sneak into his car. So, and I think it literally ends with Detective Danner saying, like, all right, your story's next.
All right,
so,
your
boom.
story's next. And his seems to be like, here's how I always look at these things, is like they always make you focus on the wrong suspects early on.
The red herrings.
So they're going to make, I don't know anything about fish, Tom. But like Brett is like the obvious one. Like, so I don't feel like it's going to be Brett.
Well, we're going to do that. It's not the person you most suspect. It's also not the person you least suspect. It's always the person you most medium expect.
Okay. Yes, that is correct. Thank you, The Office, once again. I don't think it's going to be Anik. I don't think it's going to be Brett. Like, those I have. I don't think they've given us enough of Walt. Like, Walt's weirdly creepy. I think there's going to be, like, a fun twist there.
Yeah.
Where I think I'm on track. Maybe he's just, like, a Xavier head, and he's not, like... But they're going to find that out. It's not going to be necessarily nefarious or he's the murderer, but that's where they're going to take us down that road. So I don't know who it is. If I had to guess, I would say it's Zoe.
I was actually going to say the same thing. After the first episode, I was like, it's the person you kind of least suspect because she was just kind of playing the love interest in Anik's kind of story, so they didn't really give you much of her.
Right.
So it kind of makes me lean towards her initially.
Right. But everyone knows that vice principals, vice presidents too, they're all suspicious. Anyway, so I had fun with the show. Our official guest right now is Zoe.
Yep.
But we reserve the right to change it.
Mm-hmm.
Give the show a go. It's fun. Send us your guesses. You can get in touch with us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to shoot us a line, shoot us your suspects. You can also reach us on your preferred social media at Team Binge. At Team Binge.
We also got a website too, teambinge.com. You can find some, you follow our RSS feed to get all of our pods. We got some sweet merch.
And just so you know, we're still planning on doing Ted Lasso Season 3, but of course it's not out yet. So in the meantime, we decided to do something fun.
Fill in the void.
I really enjoyed this show. I think we actually, for the first time, watched the first episode together.
Yep.
Had a lot of laughs. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it the second go-around, too, because there's stuff you just don't catch.
Yeah.
And I'm sure rewatching it after seeing more episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely watch it with subtitles. I will say that because there's stuff you do catch and you do have to pay attention to what's happening. But all these actors and characters are like people I've enjoyed in other things.
Oh,
and so
that's what brought me to this. Like I saw the trailer for it and like I didn't know it was like a genre bending thing. I don't know really what it was. I don't even think the trailer gives a whole lot away. But it was just all these people that I absolutely love from all these different things. And to your point, too, about Lord and Miller, like everything those guys have done recently, I've absolutely loved. So I was all in.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. When I looked at it, they dropped 4 episodes, right?
Yes.
Do you know when they're dropping the next 4? Because it's 8 total, and we're going to do all 8.
Yeah, we'll do all 8. I believe they come out on Fridays. So the first 4 get dropped to kind of get you into it, and then they do it episodically every Friday.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
So we might be able to kind of catch up here.
Well, we will be doing them every week until the end of time or season 3 of Ted Lasso. We appreciate you all joining us. I have been Julian.
And I have been Gumshoe Tom.
Oh, no. We were using nicknames. It's too late now.
Bye, everybody. Take care.